There was shouts and screams. He's back, he's back, he's got a gun.
Eyewitnesses in the area have told us they heard shouting and then they heard 3 or 4 gunshots.
I started to run towards him. I knew I would have to do something to protect the public.
Police have recently released a statement confirming that there have been a number of fatalities.
What hit me was I suddenly saw the little girl. I was like, oh no.
This is the story of one of the UK's worst ever mass shootings.
Warning signs were ignored and a licence to kill was granted.
5 people were killed, including a 3-year-old girl, by one man with a licensed weapon.
He must have put that in his mind when he had that gun back, he's going to do something bad.
Plymouth, on the south coast of Devon. On a summer evening, Jake Davison, an apprentice crane driver at the city's dockyard, leaves his home in the suburbs with a gun.
I thought he was a nice lad, you know.
To me, he seemed harmless.
His neighbours in the quiet cul-de-sac are just settling down for their tea.
About 6:10, I thought I'll nip down the Chinese there and get something for the missus.
Then Alex Attrell hears a series of loud bangs.
It just sounded like fireworks, so we didn't take a lot of notice of it. Looked across and see somebody lying on the pavement. Bit strange. Nothing moving.
Alex was witnessing the first terrible moments of a mass shooting on UK streets. Jake Davison was 22. Home was in the Keyham area of Plymouth, where he lived with his mum Maxine, just a few doors up from Alex and Pauline Attrell.
Jake, I knew him when he was small at school. He used to play with Mother Pay and that. I thought he was a nice lad, you know.
In fact, Davison had a history of violent outbursts. He'd been reported for a number of assaults, including an attack on children. Much of his history was known to the police, and yet they licensed him to own a gun. The 12th of August 2021, the day of the tragedy.
Quiet, really. It was all right, it was nice.
Just sat in front of the telly there having a cup of tea like what you do.
It's normal. Never thought it would happen here.
On patrol that day is PC Zach Printer, a Royal Marine veteran, former firearms officer and now traffic cop.
We can just be cruising along in the car and just dealing with somebody that's broken down, to getting a call to go to a fatal road traffic collision. So the intensity can go from 0 to 100 in a call of a radio.
Shortly after 3, a door camera records Davison arriving home from work. He spends the afternoon on his computer, switching between watching cartoons and searching for posts about suicide. Then a row breaks out with his mum Maxine. Just after 6, she calls her sister Marlene in a panic. Davison has grabbed her by the throat and locked her in a bedroom. Marlene is driving. It's 7 minutes before she can pull over and alert the police. But by then, Maxine is dead. Davison has killed her in the bedroom at Biddick Drive, shooting her just moments after she called her sister for help.
It was about 6:10. A call came over the radio. There's been a shooting in Keyham. Instinct took over. There needed to be a response. I was driving and I said, we're going to go.
Back at Biddick Drive, Davison leaves his house armed with his pump-action shotgun.
A pump-action shotgun, you can pull the front stock back and that will load another round into the chamber. As quick as you can pull back on the front stock, That's how quick it is to fire another round. So it's literally a second at most.
I can understand them with a shotgun if they're on a farm to shoot the rabbits or foxes after your chickens, but who wants a pump-off shotgun? It's getting like America.
At 6:09, Lee Martin and his daughter Sophie, out for a walk, enter Biddick Drive. Lee is a carpenter at a boat builder's. Sophie is pushing a teddy in her pram. Davison shoots them both dead.
Went out the front door, reached in my pocket. Oh, I had a little bit of rag. I thought, you know, I'm a first aider at work, so I'll nip over and see if he can actually do anything like it. So I went over, and it didn't really register. It was one of those surreal moments, you know, you're not really there and you can't comprehend what's going on. Like, but what hit me was I suddenly saw the little girl. I was like, oh no. People were starting to get into a bit of a panic. And then my neighbour said, get inside, looking around. Yeah, it's a bit strange when I think about it. So if I'd have gone out there about 10 minutes earlier, he probably would have had me as well. I'll try not to think about it.
For the patient.
Emergency medics have been dispatched, including the ambulance service operational commander.
I was alerted by my handset going off, so I made my way to the vehicle. I thought it was probably a domestic, which had probably been done and dusted by the time we get there.
Davison is now making his way into a nearby park. There he kills father of 5, Stephen Washington. He'd been out walking his dogs. He was a carer to his wife.
He was friendly as anything. Yeah, his dogs were lovely. We used to see him every day around the park. He used to stop and talk to us. So, you all right? I said, yeah, we're fine. He was good as gold.
Davison then moves out of the park onto a main road. He makes his way towards a shopping area, gun in hand.
Yes, we were unarmed, but looking from the traffic point of view, that's why we went there initially. It wasn't to deal with any potential gunmen. We would deal with casualties if we came across them, but it was more to go into the area to see if we could locate the subject or subjects, because at that point we didn't know how many gunmen there were.
I was given the RV points, so I went there. I heard over the radio an open broadcast speech saying that the person had a gun. I got out of my car and then I heard the shots.
Davison shoots his 5th victim. She is Kate Shepherd, a textile designer on her way home from the supermarket. CCTV captures the moment PC Printer's patrol car arrives at the scene.
So I turned left into Henderson Place, and as the road bends round, there's a small Prater shops on the left. As we rounded that bend, there were a number of members of the public stood in the road, waving at us and gesturing us to pull over. And I went straight to the casualty, who I now know is Kate Shepherd. The priority was to see what her injuries were.
Ambulance Ops Commander Mark Dodwell decides to join colleagues inside the police cordon.
There were police around with me and I could see my crews in the distance. I made the decision to make my way forward to find those crews. It was the best thing that we stayed and try and help some of these patients that had got horrific injuries. For some of the staff that attended, I don't think they'll ever see anything like that in the whole of their career.
You're listening to BBC Radio Devon. Police have recently released a statement confirming that there have been a number of fatalities at the scene and a critical incident has been declared.
Well, I heard a shot, walked around the corner, bumped into the shotgun, the bloke with the shotgun.
Frightening. We ran in and shut the back door, locked. Well, the police was telling us to lock ourselves in and that.
Just blank expression, holding the black gun, it's a rifle type gun.
Loads of police, loads of helicopters, mad panic, everything's going on. Whole street sealed off.
My daughter come up and told us that there was a shooting going on. I thought, what do you mean shooting? Over the back of her.
There was obviously an armed individual out roaming the area. We didn't know what that individual was armed with, but at that point, that wasn't our focus.
Davison is lurking in a side street, just metres from where PC Printer and his colleague are tending to Kate Shepherd. What were you saying to her?
I was just giving her reassurance. I said, it's all right, Kate, the police are here, I'm Zach, and we're going to look after you. Then there was shouts and screams from behind me. He's back, he's got a gun. I sort of turned to my left and I saw a figure exiting Bedford Street onto Henderson Place. Can we pause a minute?
Of course.
He walked round the corner. He was carrying a shotgun. And as soon as I saw him, I knew I would have to do something to protect the public. He posed a threat at that time, as in my eyes. So I shouted to him to stand still. My thoughts at the time were just to try and be able to talk him down. And I started to run towards him. I got to within 20 or so metres, but I didn't know the ammunition he was carrying, the type of ammunition he was carrying, and the fact that he had 2 rounds left in the shotgun.
At 24 minutes past 6, as PC Printer's armed colleagues arrive, Davison pulls the trigger one final time.
What really annoyed me was the fact that he turned the gun on himself and got away with it. You hear about all these shootings in America. The outcome's all the same. Kill as much as they can, and then they kill themselves. So they don't get justice.
As the grieving begins, so does the search for answers. The police are accused of massive failings, of overlooking evidence that Davison was violent and unpredictable. It emerges that when he was at school, police had been called when he assaulted 2 teachers and a classmate. In 2016, he was reported for attacking a pregnant woman and her partner in the street. And on social media, he ranted about his hatreds and frustrations.
It's just been me fighting an uphill battle with a big rock on my back, you know, while I'm seeing that don't deserve half of anything. Now they're getting a free ride to the top.
2017, and Davison applies for a gun licence from the firearms unit at Devon and Cornwall Police. He's been obsessed by guns for years. A history of violence should result in an application being considered high risk and referred to the unit manager. But staff are confused about how to use a so-called risk matrix, and his application is only checked by a supervisor.
This is a copy of Davison's original application for a gun licence, and at the bottom here is the box on the form where the risk matrix score is supposed to be recorded, and that box has been left completely empty.
The unit grants the licence, a decision the force later admits was wrong. Davison buys a pump-action shotgun, which he keeps at home in Biddick Drive.
If you look at Dunblane and Thomas Hamilton in the mid-90s, then you go up and look at Derek Bird in Cumbria around 2010, and now this in Keyham a decade later. You have three individuals there that are angry, imploding. They are known to authorities. Why was this able to happen?
This is Plymouth's Central Park. It's 11 months before the shootings. The police response to what's about to happen here will become the focus of intense anger.
Everybody's angry. Knock on their doors, I think they're angry. They talk about it as angry.
Jake Davison is walking home. This enhanced CCTV shows a skate park on the right. Davison hears someone shout an insult. Later, he will tell police he knew the child he's about to attack wasn't the person who shouted, but he wanted to make someone pay. The 16-year-old boy is punched 9 times and has to be treated in hospital. Police later class this as a low-level assault. His next victim, a girl who's 15, is slapped in the face. Instead of being prosecuted, Davison's told to do an online thinking skills course and given an anger management booklet. His gun is confiscated and his license put under review. But in July 2021, police assess him as low risk and return the weapon. Something, again, they later admit was a mistake.
If he hasn't got the gun licence back, I thought it may not have happened. Because I think it's all wrong. Everybody thinks about that. The police shouldn't have given him a gun licence back. He must have put that in his mind when he had that gun back, he's going to do something bad.
In February 2023, an inquest jury heard how the firearms department which issued Davison's licence was understaffed, and the staff were undertrained.
I'm deeply sorry for the loss of those families and for the failings in my force that led to Jake Davison having a gun where he shouldn't have. My job now is to make sure that nothing like this can happen again.
I don't feel reassured at the moment because there just simply haven't been the changes in local and national policing. What I would like to see coming out of this Keyham tragedy, a real attempt in Parliament to stop the ownership of firearms across civil society.
Those closest to the tragedy want urgent change so that no other families have to endure such torment.
The evidence we have heard during this inquest is a consistent story of individual failures, breathtaking incompetence, and systemic failings within every level of the firearms licensing unit of the Devon and Cornwall Police. Warning signs were ignored and a licence to kill was granted.
For his bravery, PC Zach Printer was given a coroner's commendation, the highest accolade a coroner can bestow. The inquest recorded that Maxine Davison, Sophie and Lee Martin, Stephen Washington, and Kate Shepherd were all unlawfully killed. The jury found a national failure to learn lessons from mass shootings of the past and a catalogue of failure by Devon and Cornwall Police.